Connor Ingalls and Lucas Dolangowski here on the home stretch, ESPN Gainesville 95.3 FM. Give us a little ring if you'd like to join in the discussion, 352-392-8255. And so, Lucas, as I said at the beginning of the show, NBA All-Star Weekend, essentially here's 2 more games tonight on TNT, but then we'll get into the midst of all the fun and mayhem, and I always use this as a kind of point in the season to take a step back and look at everything that's gone on. Mm-hmm. Much like we were just talking about the Florida Gator basketball team, you know who they are at this point in the season. You know, teams aren't really flukes anymore. You have a good understanding of everybody. So with that, before we get into this trade deadline talk, the story in the NBA is the Golden State Warriors on pace to win 75 games, actually over 75 games. And they're 48-4 right now. Honestly, straight up, is this the best basketball team there's ever been?
Right now, yes. I don't know. I hate to, they're on pace to, beat the, Bulls mark there.
Bulls, yeah.
Yeah, so in that sense, yeah, they are. And they're just so, it's so dynamic and it's such a new, I don't want to say new, it's just such an evolved form of basketball.
Yeah.
And teams are
You can't compare team v team as far as on the court.
Correct.
I mean, it's like you said.
It's so unique, and they're just so, they can run so many different lineups, which that makes them so good. And I was 4 when the Bulls won 72 games, so I can't really speak a ton to their style of play. Obviously they were very deep and had a lot of mixed player roles in terms of, like, everybody. There were so many guys that could do everything, much like this Warriors team. So, but something that doesn't get talked about is just they're so good defensively. Obviously, they do give up. They give up over 100 a game, I think, as opposed to the Spurs only giving up 91 a game.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd still say Golden State is an elite defensive team.
Yeah. That's one of the narratives that always bugs me. Whenever the Warriors and the Spurs play, it's this whole offense versus defense clash. Golden State's just like the second best NBA team in defense, and San Antonio probably has the second or third highest rated offense. That's just, I mean, they're both number 1 respectively in offensive defense.
Correct.
From Golden State to San Antonio. But yeah, I mean, those are both great teams. And that's another thing, piggybacking off of what we're talking about with the Spurs. Can we just lock up this Warriors team as, if we think it might be the best ever? Are they a lock to get to the finals and win it? Or how real of a threat are the 45-8 San Antonio Spurs? I mean, it's crazy that this is the first time going into the All-Star break ever that there are 2 teams with 45 or more wins. It's never happened. So it seems like they're on a collision course to at least the Western Conference Finals. How much can we just assume that Golden State's going to make it, or how real of a threat is San Antonio?
I think they're a very real threat. I don't think a team from the East can win. I don't think the Cavs or the Raptors are good enough.
Or the Magic?
Or the Magic.
If they sneak in there?
If they can sneak in.
Come on, man.
No, I don't think Cleveland and or Toronto. I mean those are the 2 best teams in the East right now, and I don't think they have the depth and ability to hang with Golden State or San Antonio, or maybe even.
So the Western Conference Finals is the finals, in your opinion?
Yes. But that's still such a tough road because I think, pending, we'll get into the trade talk with Blake Griffin, but the Clippers have been playing really, really good with their 18-4 without Blake Griffin.
And they've lost to ground going 18-4 against both the Spurs and the Warriors.
Yeah, so and they're the 4 seed right now. But, if somehow the Spurs get the 1 seed, or assuming the Warriors get the 1 seed, you got to play the Clippers in the semifinals, maybe.
Yeah.
Or the Thunder are a very dangerous team at the 3 seed. If you're playing the Spurs are playing the Thunder, like that's not I can see either that could go 7. So do I think the Western Conference Finals will be the pseudo finals? Yeah, and I do think that the Warriors and Spurs are the 2 best teams, but like there's danger there.
Listening to the home stretch here on ESPN Gainesville 95.3 FM. Connor Ingalls with Lucas Dolangowski. If you'd like to join and give us your thoughts, call us up at 352-392-8255. That's also 352-392-TALK. here on ESPN Gainesville 95.3. I very much think the Spurs are a threat. I, on one hand, think the Warriors right now are the best basketball team not only I've ever seen, but really potentially in NBA history. But it's crazy because the Spurs are really good too. I mean, the Spurs are almost another all-time list. This is the best record the Spurs have ever had going into the All-Star break. This is a team that has won 4 rings in the last 15 years.
And we know how Duncan's been in and out of the lineup. All of those guys, and that's how Popovich leaves guys out of the lineup, lets them rest, and they're still that good.
They're still that good. This could be the best Spurs team there's ever been. It's remarkable, man. That's such a heavy weight fight there that we assume is going to be in the Western Conference Finals. But again, another level of the craziness. Yeah, the Thunder or the Clippers beating one of those two teams in the second round. It wouldn't be wild. It's not unimaginable. I mean, those teams have star power, and that's what carries you in the playoffs.
I got an analogy. I'm going to see what you think of it. The Michigan State basketball and the Spurs are very similar.
Sure. They always
you get late in the season and you turn it on. It's Izzo time in March. And you're like, holy crap, Michigan State's in another Final Four. Holy crap, San Antonio's in another Finals or Western Conference Finals, and it just happens all the time.
Yeah, this past Final Four was the first time Michigan State's senior class hadn't made it to a Final Four under Izzo, I believe. So they always have that consistency. They always turn it on once it's tournament time. And I mean, the Spurs, it's like going on 6 years now that people have said, oh, well, this team's finally so old.
They've been
done.
Old for,
They lost in 2011 in the first round against the Memphis Grizzlies, and I remember everybody saying, oh, you got to blow it up. It's over. And
here we are 5 years later.
5 years later, the Spurs are still going strong. Real quick note, I do think the Cavs could also beat either of those teams in the finals. I don't think it's locked up, especially because, I mean, if that series
I think if there is it's going to be the Cavs are the best
I kind of write in the Cavs. No disrespect to our many Toronto Raptors listeners in the area. But, you got to write in the Cavs in the finals.
The Raptors don't have enough
a well-rested Cavs team that is healthy. I mean, you saw them push the Warriors to 6 last year with LeBron and nobody else on the court. Tristan Thompson out there being the second best player.
Matthew
Dellavedova. If they're fully healthy, I really think, LeBron, much like you said, the Spurs turn it on in the playoffs.
It'd be really fun to get a full, healthy Cavs team.
Yes. You kind of hope that happens before, they get too antsy and make any changes.
Oh, gosh.
Now, talk about changes. What a segue there. NBA trade deadline a week from today. One of the craziest days of the year in sports, Lucas. And a lot of different things going on in Twitter. Some big names who are rumored to possibly be available or potentially be on the move. Dwight Howard, Blake Griffin. You can't ever rule out DeMarcus Cousins with the who knows what's even call it going on in Sacramento. Yeah, the circus, the Kings. I mean, who knows? I want to detail it, though, on these Florida teams, the Magic and the Heat. Two teams that aren't necessarily performing poorly given what they have, but fans had higher expectations for each.
I think especially for the Magic.
Yeah, a month ago, the Magic were looked at as one of the best stories in the NBA. They were 19-13. They were in the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, and since then, they're now 23-29, a horrible stretch of games. I think, the Magic have reportedly been one of the most active teams in trying to bring in some leadership, some veterans onto this ball club because year 4 of the rebuilding phase under Rob Hennigan, you got to make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah.
And year 3, excuse me. That's what I think everybody in Orlando is aware of that situation. Another big name that's been thrown out there, pretty much everybody on the Atlanta Hawks, people are saying they might break up their core.
Right.
And Al Horford and Jeff Teague have both been kind of linked to some rumors going in Orlando. Do you go all out? Do you give up some of these young pieces? Do you potentially give up a Victor Oladipo? Do you give up an Evan Fournier, a Tobias Harris in order to get a fringe all-star, a guy like Teague, a guy like Horford, just so you can make the playoffs? Or do you trust the process, maybe risk not making the playoffs this year, but keep growing with the youth movement in Orlando?
I think you try to get I don't even know necessarily, those guys are a little, too, I think, big. I think you can get a veteran guy. I honestly can't think of who's on the full, in terms of, older. I always think of, Andre Miller, who's, like 40 now.
You could bring in a 40-year-old Andre Miller.
This is not my example of who they're gonna bring in, but it's just a guy like that.
Ray for Alston in 2009 was huge for them. They lost Jameer Nelson. They bring in a veteran point guard, and he helps them.
Correct. Yeah, they just need a veteran presence. It doesn't even necessarily need to be a fringe all-star player like you said. I think if I were the Magic, I think you give it one more year.
Yeah, I agree.
And maybe you never know. Like All-Star break, you reset. Maybe they go on a nice little run, sneak in the playoffs. They haven't played
horribly. They've had horrible. I don't want to say they've had horrible luck. They've been terrible at closing out games. But really, Orlando's looked like a good ball club all season. They have 8 or 9 young guys on that team who are already good NBA contributors.
Did they beat the Spurs the other night?
They did not. They lost last night.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
So game winner with.
There you go. To your point of.
Oh yeah, it's been like that all season. I mean, same story. They recently did beat the Hawks in a back-to-back. So again, they're only 3.5 games out of the 8th seed for the playoffs right now. I wouldn't blow it up. I think you have so much good young talent. You give them.
You don't want to bring.
You give them the.
You
don't
want to bring Dwight Howard back?
No. I don't think anybody in Orlando wants that.
I don't think Dwight Howard wants that.
Nobody involved wants that. Nobody on earth does. But
Dwight Howard's on the trade block.
I don't want to think in 5 years, you look back and you say, "Wow, look at all these young guys. These guys were all in the Magic at the same time, and they blew it up to get Jeff Teague for 2 years." That kind of stuff.
I think you said that. I feel like Magic fans have said that at times because I think I'll use Ben Wallace for an example.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the Magic drafted Ben Wallace, and now he's like
Chauncey Billups and Ben Wallace won the Magic at the same time.
5-time Defensive Player of the Year, Ben Wallace, and Finals MVP Chauncey Billups.
Trevor Ariza on a smaller scale, Ryan Anderson, guys like that.
Yeah,
and don't give up on them. Just keep them in there. Cultivate that talent because these guys all aren't in their prime, and you could be killer in a couple of years if you just waited out. Don't sell out to make the 7th
Tobias
seed.
Harris is 13 years old. No,
he's 23.
Yeah,
but
Fournier is 22.
Hazonia is only 19. Aaron Gordon's only 19.
Yeah, you have a freaking college 23. You have a college
21. Yeah, exactly. So let them grow together. They could be really good. Now, real quick with the Miami Heat before we get to the break, 29-24. But what's disappointing is I think Heat fans thought they're sitting at the 5th seed now. They thought they'd be part of the discussion for winning the Eastern Conference or at least getting to a conference finals. And they're not really there. Not a bad ball club, just a very kind of mediocre or decent team. Like I said, 5 games above 500. They've showed spurts. They've had games where Dwayne Wade has kind of flashed back at moments this season. Chris Bosh has been.
This has been the healthiest.
Consistent.
This is the healthiest Wade has been in a really.
Do they need to make a move? Gordon Dragic's play hasn't been up to not only his contract but also what they gave up for him to Phoenix to get him.
I think he'd be a good guy to move because I think you could get some. He hasn't played very well, and that
he still has value.
Yeah, I think he still has very high value given the right system because I think he's a very system-based player. He's a very good basketball player, but he really hasn't done what they've expected from him.
Since acquiring LeBron James, Miami hasn't had a good bench. They haven't had that much depth.
Right.
It's always been stars and then some ring chasers or some veterans who could fill out roles. Yeah, giving up a guy like Dragic, kind of going away from needing that super-headed star lineup. Just get some more consistency, get some depth. I think that would serve the Heat well. Got to catch a break here. We're a little behind on the home stretch, though. Coming up, maybe Florida women's basketball's biggest game ever in South Carolina, taking on the number 2 ranked Gamecocks, the 16th ranked Gators. That's coming up at 7. We're going to break it down for you up next on the home stretch.